Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Intelligent Ecosystem Experience Track. Now we're stepping into the next chapter of AI maturity, where data, people, and processes move in perfect sync, where insights don't just inform decisions, they ignite them. This is where AI stops being an experiment and becomes the heartbeat of an intelligent enterprise. Across industries, the story is the same. Disruption is constant. Markets shift overnight. Supply chains fracture. Decisions can't wait. But imagine a world where your organization doesn't react to change. It anticipates it. That's the power of the intelligent ecosystem, a living network that learns, adapts, and grows stronger with every challenge. You've either just come from our AI blueprint experience, or you'll be heading there next. That's where the foundation was built. Trusted data, governance, and secure AI. Here, you'll see that blueprint come alive. We'll begin with a short video. Imagine yourself as the CEO and management team navigating a global crisis. Tariffs, disruptions, uncertainty. See how you as a leaders applied decision intelligence to act with clarity, speed, and confidence. Next, our three presenters will reveal how organizations rise from disruption to resilience through dynamic supply chain, autonomous operations, and enterprise orchestration. This is the intelligent ecosystem, where insight becomes foresight and action becomes advantage. Welcome to a world where decision intelligence drives every move, and the future begins now.
This is the Uvance Company's top management suite. In this space, diverse data is shared in real time, informing future forecasts and management decisions at unprecedented speed. You will be joining as the CEO and experience the next generation of board meetings powered by data and AI. So, let's get started. I'm UVI, the Uvance Company's AI-powered management agent. I'll be here to assist you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Greetings.
Thank you.
Thanks for setting this up.
The first item on the agenda today is the construction of a new EV battery plant. The global EV penetration rate has exceeded 30%, and the demand for EV batteries is expected to further increase in the future. We are currently considering several potential sites.
What are the top candidates?
North America, Europe, and ASEAN are the three leading candidates. Among them, ASEAN has the advantage of being close to lithium, producing countries for raw materials. In addition, it is located in an industrial park and has well-developed infrastructure, so it is possible to reduce construction costs. It has cleared regulatory hurdles, but space is limited and scalability is a challenge.
I see. There are geographical advantages, but scalability is the trade-off, right?
More and more companies have been building plants in South Asia recently, but that is not one of TH candidate regions for this project. Our customers are also building more. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. Here are the candidate sites extracted from the results of the simulation assessment. UC02 as GAI that supports plant construction. What is your view?
It is true that the economic growth rate in recent years has been very high, and our competitors are taking particular interest in India. But my prediction is that 7 other companies are currently considering setting up plants in this area. As the number of plants, ours included, increases, there is a risk that environmental pollution will become a more serious issue in the future. There is a possibility that the government will tighten regulations, which will raise the cost of environmental measures and have a negative impact on environmental assessments.
I'd also like to point out that land ownership tends to be complicated in this region. Foreign companies trying to acquire land often face sticky legal challenges.
Well, that all sounds quite complicated. Thank you, UC02.
Here's a thought. How about outsourcing manufacturing and not bother building our own plant? We're seeing rapid changes in our industry, so limiting financial risk seems like a good idea.
Here is a list of potential contractors and relevant data about shifting EV battery manufacturing to outsourcers. This is the leading candidate.
I'm concerned about the outflow of technology. We'll need to thoroughly vet this contractor.
I'd also like to add that the Uvance company has grown side by side with our suppliers and the community. So why not build the new plant in a place where we can do business with our suppliers?
Okay, here are the candidate sites that take that point of view into consideration. All of these locations have enough space, and the local governments are actively soliciting the construction of new plants to revitalize the region. This site in particular has good access to air and seaports, with abundant water resources.
It may be costly, but helping revitalize the region is sure to boost our reputation in the medium to long term.
The road network is inadequate around the planned construction site, but it is possible to negotiate an expansion with the municipality. In Canada, there is a subsidy program for environmentally friendly plants. We need to act quickly, though the application deadline is approaching.
Do you have any other thoughts? If we don't decide on next steps for the construction of the new plant by the end of today, we will not be able to apply for the Canadian subsidy in time. To help with the decision, I have organized the candidate sites based on the discussion so far. Have a look.
I agree.
I agree.
Me too.
I think that's a good idea.
Now, let's prepare for the site visit and share it with each section. Thank you to UC02. Now for the second agenda item, initiatives for suppliers to achieve carbon neutrality. Hold on. I have some breaking news. A large typhoon is predicted to hit our Vietnam location in 5 days. As it crosses Southeast Asia, our supply chain is expected to be significantly impacted. This is a new agenda item that needs to be urgently addressed. We will display the risk assessment for this typhoon based on past data. The risk level is 5. That means this is a discussion must be given the highest priority.
Ensuring the safety of employees and suppliers is the biggest concern. Human life comes first.
Of course, that means we must close plants and offices in the suburbs of Hanoi, which are expected to be severely damaged. We also need to issue work from home directives based on the predicted track of this typhoon and the risk assessment. These measures will have to be in effect for 3 days. Any objections?
None from me.
I'm okay with that approach.
Me too.
Let's do it.
Okay. We are notifying all companies and suppliers that we will be closing our offices for 3 days and that safety will be our top priority. Next, based on our natural disaster countermeasures to date, we simulated the impact on our production plan. Production will return to full capacity on the 7th day after the reopening of the plant. And production in Vietnam this month is expected to be 20% lower than originally planned.
Hold on. I understand that this is an emergency, but I want to keep the shipping plan for new products in the initial stages on track.
Achieving our sales targets won't be easy, so we want to avoid opportunity losses due to shortages as much as possible.
Why not switch production to the Thai plant that produces the same series? I will connect you to Som, the plant manager, for his view on this.
Hi, this is Som. We have just conducted a simulation based on the information you shared, so please take a look. There will be some impact on the production plan of other products, but it is possible to switch to a new product after 2 days.
Thank you very much, Mr. Song. As a result of simulating the switch to the Thai plant, it is expected that the new products will be shipped as planned.
That's good. Thank you all.
Everyone, we're completing risk responses at each site sequentially. Miss Aliyah, we have issued an order to postpone marketing events in areas that are expected to see damage.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to share the results of the simulation of the impact of this typhoon on management indicators. While there will be some impact on profit and loss, the impact on new product launches is expected to be minimal. We also expect non-financial metrics such as customer satisfaction and employee engagement to remain largely unchanged due to our rapid response to the disaster.
I'm glad to hear that the damage doesn't seem as severe as expected.
The prediction accuracy of this simulation is 3% better than the previous version. In the future, we will leverage the results of countermeasures against this disaster to further improve accuracy. Sorry everyone, but there's still one agenda left. Unfortunately, the CEO has to leave to the next appointment. So this concludes today's meeting. We will continue to monitor the typhoon and take steps as necessary.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for today.
Great meeting.
Thank you again.
Have a good day.
So, what did you think? In the future, a wide range of real-time data from inside and outside the company will be available during board meetings to aid in rapid decision-making. Fujitsu Uvance is working with you to create such a future. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You've just watched a video on how the use of agentic AI can assist with strategic business decisions that senior executives like yourselves will need in order to engage and pivot accordingly when there's a disaster or when there's a pressing need in the business. My name is Elisha Lim, and I'm going to take the next 20 minutes together with my colleagues to assume different personas within our fictitious company and to role-play the use of AI within our environment that will mitigate the risks of change and the risks of disruption to our global supply chain, especially from the vantage point of myself, the supply chain planner, the group CFO, as well as the global sourcing lead. On top of that, we are also going to touch on the fact that with the agentic AI, you're able to also optimize business opportunities as well as to strengthen supply chain resilience from any kind of trade disruptions. Speaking of trade disruptions, just this morning, we received an email alert from the company informing us that our American manufacturing operations are likely to be impacted by the tariff initiative. In fact, just a while ago, I received an email from the group CFO requesting that we look at resourcing the plant in America, right? From our financial planning results, the CFO wants to de-risk the situation, and they want to see how we can actually come up with different supply scenarios to come up with the optimum plan, business plan for operations in America. Now, a cursory glance at the situation here, we see that with the introduction of the tariffs, it will cause a decrease in demand fulfillment to 67.5% of demand fulfillment, from 100% down to 67.5%. Now, that's a big dip in demand fulfillment, and that's bad news for us because at the end of the day, it will have a negative impact on our business performance. I need to therefore come up with different formulation of the sourcing strategies to boost our demand fulfillment. Right. Thankfully, I'm able to make use of the agentic AI, the supply chain agentic AI, to come up with 3 different scenarios for our consideration. What are these 3 different scenarios, you might ask? Well, the first scenario that we're looking at is to actually increase a single shift within our Atlanta plant operations. And the second scenario is for us to augment additional contract manufacturing capacity in the US. The third scenario, however, is a combination of both scenario 1 and scenario 2, where we have the additional shift augmented with the contract manufacturing capacity increase. Now, in the final analysis, we actually determined that the third scenario, sourcing scenario, is actually the best option for us to boost demand fulfillment from 67.5% to 80.5%, which is exactly the kind of response that I want to be able to bring back to my group CFO so that he can endorse this execution of the strategy. So for the next presenter who's coming on board, it will be our group CFO, who will endorse, who will attest to the fact that using dynamic supply chains as what I have described earlier, will help him to achieve autonomous operations, not only in the US, but for every other location that we operate in globally. So without much further ado, Rajesh, please join me on stage.
Thank you, Elisha. All right, my dear friends, welcome again to this session. So, I mean, you have seen how basically, we can use the agentic AI to, respond to these disruptions in a much better way, to understand what are the different possible what-ifs, and possibly how I can actually make my scenarios to be responded better, given whatever the disruption which is happening. So in this station number 2, autonomous operations, this is where we will see, as a CFO, I cannot only depend upon a supply chain perspective. I need to understand what is my procurement perspective, what is my financial perspective, what is my operating budget, or how I can maximize my gross margins. So I have multiple objectives to be met. And there is a necessity that why these different stakeholders have conflicting objectives, right? So I would like to play the role of a chief financial officer today, that by taking the information which was given by the supply chain planner, Elisha, who has figured out his constraints, which is demand-supply mismatch, lead time increase, inventory shortages, and cost optimization. He has done from a supply chain angle. When I take this information, I believe I have to take this information and transfer it into a kind of a financial outcome. For example, with this lesser demand, which means my margin is already going down. With the increased tariffs, my pressure on profitability is already evident. So I need to see how best I can do it. And this is where basically we have come out with this architecture of how multiple AI agents can help me to address each perspective. Like, for example, the Joule in the first example gave the perspective of supply chain, but the procurement perspectives, legal perspectives, quality perspectives, I don't have answers to. So this is where what we have done is there is an underlying platform called Agent of Agents, which we'll talk about later, what it is powering these leaderships to take these decisions, etc. Before that, let's see what is the outcome of that particular technology. So here, as you see in the screen, this is an outcome of this application powered by agents, wherein for a CFO, he can understand what are the tariffs across different countries globally across my group, right? However, America has been replanned, but most of the suppliers for this America is coming from Asia. So let me try to zoom down into Asia to see what are the scenarios here. So I'm going to select Asia and then basically zoom into that. And as you can see here, the Asian tariff rates are already given to me across multiple countries. Of course, in Singapore, I have 10%, which is not that bad, right? Once I have the visibility of the tariff across multiple countries in Asia, I cannot just stop here, right? Let me just try to take one more step, which is to see what is the impact of this tariff based on the plan created by Elisha. So as I can see, 36% of my margin eroded to 21% because of the profit rate, because of the cost which I'm adding on top of the tariffs, on top of my usual business. So as a result, I'm looking at all the orders, 36% is falling down to 21% based on the orders that I am planning to deliver for the next 1 year. And not just that, if I look at even detailed impact analysis, I have already a $60K of increase of the tariff. Not just that, my profitability fell by 15% because I had 45% profit, whereas my margin came down to 20%. So I have to see what is the supply chain which I'm operating across Asia, like Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, etc., into consideration and see what more optimization I can do to increase my margin. So this is where I'm getting into the simulator, and I'm simulating and seeing with this plan, I have 30% of my cost of sales is part of my total cost, which means that is not affordable because before tariff, I had only 25% or 20%, but now it is almost 30%. So I have to see and seek my another colleague, another perspective to see how they can help me to optimize this procurement cost. So with this, I think, I am going to take another help from my colleague, Nicholas. So let's just see how Nicholas is going to help me out to do one more step of optimization within the supply chain by doing the procurement optimization, by talking to different suppliers and bringing down the cost of supply raw materials into my network. So I'm going to seek my help of Nicholas over there. Hello, Nicholas.
Hi, Rajesh. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas, and as mentioned by Rajesh, I am the procurement leader of our fictitious company, okay? So, as a procurement leader, what should I do here? All right. So, what you see over here, this is actually the source-to-pay workspace view of ServiceNow. Here, you can see that there are many different widgets here, and highlighted in the widgets are actually items for me to take into consideration. For example, we have this prismatic LFG battery. The cost is up by 25% due to the recent tariff increases. All right. So in the background here, the price monitor agent is the thing that actually generated this widget for me to take a look at and for me to action on. Next, the supplier recommendation agent over here will actually recommend me 2 different alternative suppliers. One of them is Electric Energy at $72 per unit, and next is RatePath Energy at $68 per unit. So here they are comparing and contrasting the advantages and disadvantages of these two. And I can see that RatePath Energy is both superior in the unit cost at a lower $68 versus the $72, and also the lead time is 2 days versus the 12 days of Electric Energy. But let's say I'm not convinced. I want to do a deeper dive into why I should choose RatePath Energy. All I have to do is to click on the Explore functionality here. So I click Explore, and then you'll see that more details about this RatePath Energy, about the stock, about the different unit prices, the estimated transit time, everything will come up to me just with a simple click. And now, let's say I want to confirm to choose RatePath Energy as my supplier. All I need to do is to confirm, and in the background, right, all the procurement agent will do are the different steps here, such as amending the new supplier, confirming the quantity, adjusting shipping routes, and updating the delivery date. All it requires from me is just to confirm the address of the plant for delivery. All right. So here, the agent will go ahead and send a notification to the plant and notify them of the new delivery date. As you can see here, I have not done anything from my end. Everything has been done by the agents in the background. And I've actually managed to solve a simple major supply chain issue in a span of less than 2 or 3 minutes. All right. So what do we say here? With enterprise constant orchestration, right? When everything comes together, intelligence becomes limitless. Thank you very much. And now I'll hand it over back to my CFO, Rajesh.
With the clicker. Thank you again. So, customers who are in the room, right? I've taken a supply chain perspective, and I've also taken a procurement perspective. These are the 2 major perspectives, at least for this demonstration, we have catered it. But then just imagine from a CFO's life perspective, if you see here, you cannot do this at the scale, right? For each order or each supplier, just imagine if I'm an electronic producer, I will have 2,000 components or 3,000 components if it is an automobile. I cannot go and manually do that. So I have an opportunity to automate certain things. And that's where we take all of this information which is being executed manually by our Nicholas, and we are feeding that to all of these agents. Like, for example, procurement decisions has been made, and the suppliers are already feeded into this agents in this application. And then you see cost agents, quality and risk agents, and legal agents. These are some of the agents that can actually bring the multiple different perspectives. So now, as you can see here, these orders are being automatically fed. As an example, I'm selecting one order, and then I'm assigning to these agents, right? Automation with AI agents. The moment I click that, the orchestrator is sending all of these orders to these agents. As you can see, these cost agents, quality agents, legal agents, they're thinking, which means their scope of engagement has been defined. And there is an orchestrator agent in the bottom, which will make sure all the agents do their job based on the scope that what we have defined, so that the decisions can be made. So in this example, I am taking a stored result in the interest of time, and all of the agents had completed their job. As you can see here, 25,545 was the procurement cost before optimization. And now I can see 16,837 after doing the supplier reallocation with 100% quality. And at the same time, I also see what is the agent's feedback summary across this. So naturally, whenever your supply chain plans are going through the changes, these informations are fed across the supply chain, and these agents are helping me to make these decisions better, right? So that's how we are ensuring all these leaders across these companies can work hand in hand together by bringing the data across financial, supply chain, procurement systems to a specific use case and give whatever the empowerment that we can do for the business leaders of tomorrow. So now I remove the hat of CFO aside and just imagine what is the technology which is fueling it. Because there are multiple ERP systems, MES systems, and then you have workflow systems. And the different processes are occurring in different systems. But the end outcome, the goal needs to be across all the systems, the data needs to feed in, and then needs to be processed in a place. This is where the underlying technology, which is making the scenarios getting orchestrated, is called as agent for AI agents. As an example here, for example, we have come out with a platform wherein we will plug the procurement agents, we plug the sales agents, we plug the workflow agents. All these agents are brought in one place, and then the scope of these agents are defined. How do we define it? As an example, you have design, execution, management of these agents. If I just click on design and creation part of this particular agent, you can see that we are defining the scope of each agent, procurement agent, inventory agent, production agent, sales agent. Not just that, if they're doing their job properly, the orchestrator and evaluator agent, each one's profile has been defined and what is their objective functions in the context of a business, so that they can try to do and orchestrate their respective assigned functions across the business, right? So that brings the end to the end of the session, basically. So wherein we use this technology to empower the businesses of tomorrow. So one thing, we are bringing the human and the technology together, and not just that, putting this data in the cloud and connecting these enterprise layers across the companies and augment this with AI, and that helps to take data-driven, agile business decisions to be responded in scenarios like be it disruption, or be it trade-led disruptions, or be it natural disaster-led disruptions across my supply chains. So that's just a small example. We took a leaf out of a larger scenarios that how leaders could operate tomorrow. So with that, I think we believe the age of automation has been gone, and it is shifting from automation to autonomy. And that's where these rise of intelligent ecosystems are driving the future of businesses for tomorrow. Thank you very much.